What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. Today, I am excited to be joined by Josiah Gray, one of the top prospects in baseball. Josiah, I know it's a hectic time of year for you, so I appreciate your time. How's life in Arizona treating you?
It's been good, man. The weather's great. Can't complain coming from New York to here. Baseball's been great, as expected. I'm glad to be around the guys. This team is as good as it gets. And, I'm glad to, go out there and perform pretty soon.
Yeah, I bet. And I mentioned you're one of the top prospects in the game. I looked, top 70 in just about every list. I imagine that's something that you're aware of. You probably get tagged in posts on Twitter and that kind of thing. I'm curious for you, is does that kind of validation mean a lot to you? Does it mean anything to you?
Honestly, I surprise a lot of people when I say that it really doesn't, because just growing up through high school and college, I wasn't ever the highly touted guy. I
Yeah.
wasn't really a prospect until honestly I got drafted, and then I got put in the top 30 list for the Cincinnati Reds. So kind of that mentality has followed me till today. It's like, okay, man, that's great. I took care of what I needed to on the field, but I don't like to make that stuff go to my head, because that's just not who I am. I want to be that guy who's just going to go out there and pitch a good ball game. And, if someone considers me a top prospect in the game, so be it. But, that's not something I, go around introducing myself as, or kind of
Yeah.
just having that as as what people know me by.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mentioned this to you right before we hopped on. I was interviewing a teammate of yours, Alex Vesia, who's a fellow Division II guy. And it kind of along the same lines. I'm curious for you, like, does being a D2 guy that probably I imagine got passed over by just about every Division I program, is that kind of part of your story? Is that in the back of your head, kind of with the chip on your shoulder, do you think?
Of course, I think, just going through that whole process of, thinking you're not good enough to play at the Division I level definitely molds you into a form of like, all right, if they don't think I'm good enough to play for their college team, then I'm going to go out there and prove that I'm good enough, and I'm better than those guys that they recruited.
Yeah.
So that was the mentality I had going into college, and then coming into pro ball. I'm playing against guys, first round guys, um, at Power Five schools. High bonus high school guys. Just kind of going out there with a chip on my shoulder, knowing that I'm gonna go out there and make sure that these guys know that I'm gonna be better than them on that day.
Yeah, I mean, were there any cool things to look back on when you think about your recruitment? I mean, whenever I talk to a D2 guy, I love to hear the stories of like maybe schools that passed on you, or kind of what you had to go through. I mean, you're obviously at a small school that doesn't put out a ton of Major League Baseball players. So, what was that recruitment process like? And was there a moment when you realized, like, man, this like might actually happen versus this might not actually happen for me as a career?
Yeah, honestly, my recruitment process wasn't very exciting. I heard from several Division I schools, such as like Marist, St. John's, and a couple more Division I schools in New York and the Northeast, but nothing really came to fruition. More so because I probably didn't play for the, that elite travel ball team that was going out there and had 10 commits on the field. But I think the ability was still there. And kind of like how I went to Lemoyne was, I had a friend who uh, knew a coach, or his coach knew Scott Cassidy, who was the coach at Lemoyne, and kind of just said, hey, there's this kid down here at New Rochelle. That's where I'm from. Two-way guy, can throw it a little bit, can swing a little bit. Give him a look. And he was like, all right, yeah, we have a need in 2017. 2017 season would be my sophomore year. He was like, yeah, we have a need because our senior shortstop would be graduating. So came down and kind of saw what I had to offer, and kind of offered me 2 weeks later. And I committed pretty much right when I was offered, because, it was all I had, but also it was a great fit. And, I'm really glad that I ended up going to Lemoyne, because if it wasn't for baseball, I have lifelong memories from there
Yeah.
with my teammates and the people I've met there.
Yeah, and you hinted at it. Most people probably know this about you. One cool piece of your journey and your story is that you've been a full-time pitcher just for a few years. I was looking at your baseball reference page. They've got you listed as pitcher slash shortstop slash third baseman. So I don't know how many guys have that on their bio, but
Oh, that's
you've probably been asked this a bunch. Why do you think, looking back, what What took so long? I mean, like, I don't know how else to phrase it. Like, why you're an amazing pitcher. So like maybe why did it take halfway through college for things to click as like, man, this is my ticket.
Honestly, I really don't know because in high school I was throwing mid 80s, which it's solid enough to want a team to project that or a school to project that onto you and kind of just roll with that. But then when I got to college, there was that initial need of backing up at third base, backing up at shortstop when our senior shortstop would go pitch, and I played right into that role. I had a decent bat. I struck out way too much, but I was serviceable. um, and then on the mound, I was okay. My freshman year, and then my freshman year summer is kind of where things took off. But then, my sophomore year was where, there was that hole at shortstop. I was recruited to play shortstop. So I kind of just rolled with that and pitched out of the back end of the bullpen. And then kind of my sophomore year summer in the Cape Cod League is where, that transition just happened naturally just because of, the team's needs along with, my aspirations to play pro ball and my coaches, wanted me to do that and kind of all that stuff. So yeah, it definitely took long, but I wouldn't want the journey to end up any other way.
And do you still have to convince the guys that it wasn't because you couldn't hit that you made the switch, that like that your bat would have been okay? Do you ever have to defend yourself a little bit in the pitcher's room?
No, I tell guys that I strike out way too much. When they ask me, you were two-way, I was like, yeah, I mean, I was okay, but I struck out 33% of my at-bats in my sophomore year. And they're like, all right, well, at least you're honest about it. You're not the pitcher going out there saying you're gonna hit friggin' 10 bombs. And I'm like, no, I might hit one, I might hit two, but I struck out way too much. And pitching just is a little simpler, and it allows me to dive into the game a little bit more than being at the plate or
Yeah.
at shortstop.
Yeah, well, you end up drafted by the Reds, traded to the Dodgers. I was looking at the jump kind of that you made in those 2 years. Year one in rookie ball, 52 innings, a strikeout to walk ratio around 3, ERA 2.92. Next year, you play across 3 levels: A ball, high A, double A, 2.7 ERA, 130 innings. Your strikeout to walk goes to 5. From your perspective, what was the shift between? Because I mean, your rookie ball numbers are good, but to be able
Mhm.
to replicate those numbers, improve those numbers pretty dramatically, almost doubling your K to walk ratio, while also playing across 3 levels is pretty insane. So, what shifted for you in that time period?
Yeah, competition definitely got tougher. So, I had to just up my game that much more. But also, I can attribute a lot of that success to the analytics and the development over here with the Dodgers. They kind of reinforced what I sort of already knew in that I should use the fastball and have everything else just play off of that, and developing a slider over here that was a really good pitch for me and still is, was another piece. So coming over here and kind of just having the confidence and the knowledge along with the talent that I showed in rookie ball definitely helped propel my first full season with the Dodgers into being a great year, in that they were in my corner after every start,
Mm.
and I had the confidence to go out there and go out there and produce.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of, you're talking about analytics, you're talking about learning. I mean, I imagine for a young guy like yourself, there probably isn't a better room to be in than if there were a room that all the pitchers at Dodger spring training right now got into a room, that would be it, right? You've got 3 Cy Young Award winners: Walker Buehler, Julio Urias, a batch of prospects, including yourself, who look like they're going to be sort of the next generation. I'm curious, as a younger guy, as somebody who it sounds like loves the mental part of the game, loves to study
Hmm.
the game and tweak. I mean, what's it like to wake up every day and know that, hey, there's 3 Cy Young Award winners that I'm gonna get to interact with today, and not to mention Walker Bueller. Like, what's it like for a
Yeah,
young guy to walk into that? And I'm not even talking about the bullpen. I mean, you got Kenley Jansen, you've got all sorts of guys out there as well. So what's that been like for you?
it's been great. I mean, it doesn't really get any better. Um, you have 3 Cy Young Award winners, like you said. You have guys who have been as successful as they can
Yeah.
in this game on the mound. So being around those guys every day, even if it's not, hey, like a certain tip or asking them a question, just seeing how they work and how they prepare, that stuff sits with you for a very long time because, if you see the best doing this, you might pick that up and put that into your game. And, you might not have to vocalize it to them saying, hey, what are your thoughts about this? If you can just see something, be like, hey, I can implement that into my routine.
Yeah.
And then there you go. So like, it's been a really good experience, for myself and other prospects in camp, along with, guys like Alex Vesia or Garrett Clevenger, because being around Kershaw, Price, Bueller, Bauer, and so on, is an invaluable experience that, you can't take away from anyone.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, what those moments look like. I mean, you mentioned Kershaw, Bueller, Price, Bauer. Like, those guys are also, like you, students of the game. They're not just sort of like grip it and rip it and like, I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing kind of guys. So, do you, as a young guy, like, do you have the opportunity? Do you have to go up to them and ask for advice, or maybe are you pitching a bullpen and one of those guys comes up and gives you tips, just sort of unprovoked? Like, what does that look like for the young guys?
Yeah, it's more so you can go up to them and ask them a question and kind of chop it up with them that way. But also, like you said, they'll watch your bullpen, and maybe like later on in the weight room, they'll ask you, hey, what were you thinking here? Hey, what's your thoughts there? Sort of just asking you to dissect what you're trying to do. And those conversations happen daily. So, I have the fortunate luck to be throwing partners with David Price. So, that comes with, asking him stuff daily. Hey, what's that look like to you? And what are you thinking there? And, those conversations are had so rapidly, and it's just a part of the game. And I think that with the guys we have out there on the field daily, those conversations are only going to get better and better and more informational for guys in my shoes.
Yeah. Talk to me a minute about David Price. I mean, he's a guy who's, it's weird to say new to the Dodgers because technically he's been here for like a year and a half, but nobody's seen him pitch beyond like a couple spring training appearances. We know like sort of the backstory that what he did for minor leaguers last year within the Dodger organization was an amazing story. By all accounts, a great guy. What's that been like for you to be? I mean, it's not accidental, right? Like it wasn't like you randomly got your name drawn to be put next to David Price. So what's it been like for you to interact with him? What's he like in those moments?
Like you said last year, for him to go out and, do what he did for minor leaguers, Dodger minor leaguers last year was, unprecedented. No one was expecting it. None of us knew what was really going on. And for him to do that out of the blue and, being in the organization for a month, maybe a month and a half, to do that just kind of speaks to the character and the person he is. But also, on the field, he's as good as they come. He's a guy that's going to work. He's going to be sort of more reserved in the way he goes about things. But, when it's go time and, he's out there on the mound, I'm sure he's a killer, just like, Bauer or Kershaw or Bueller or even myself. So, being around him is really, it's really good. And I'm really glad, to be sort of like his protege or a guy he's like taken under his wing because, there's only so many guys out there that can have that sort of mentor feeling over you. And he's definitely one of those guys. So, I'm really glad that he's in our organization and, I get to learn from him every day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned some of the younger guys. What's it like to be kind of part of this next wave of Dodger pitchers that are coming up? I mean, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, yourself, Bobby Miller, Andre Jackson, Clayton Beeter. I mean, there's like 8 more guys I could add to that list. On one hand, like I imagine there's camaraderie amongst that group, but there's also got to be competition, right? Like you look around the room and you're like, okay, 5, maybe 6 starting spots in a rotation at the major league level this year, next year, the year after. Like, does that push you to be your best? Is there sort of a healthy competition among those guys?
Yeah, there's always healthy competition. You want to always be better than the next guy. Excuse me. You always want to be better than the next guy, but growing up, you also want to be a good teammate. You also want to enjoy the people you're around and not, want to rip their heads off after every outing.
Yeah.
So, being around Andre is one of my best friends in the organization. Seeing guys like Bobby, Landon, Clayton Beater, Tony, D-May, the list literally goes on.
Yeah.
Uh, Being around those guys, it's really fun to, see us all in sort of the same realm of prospects that are, wanting that shot. It really drives us closer and wants everyone to succeed.
Yeah.
And, in their successes, you kind of uh, get happy for yourself because that guy has worked for that opportunity and he's um, ready for it. So like even yesterday, seeing Bobby and Landon go out there and really look good.
Yeah.
That was the stuff we were seeing at the alternate site and seeing it at the biggest level possible right now. You can only be happy for those guys, and that's kind of like the foundation that the Dodgers are really building. And within our young pitching corps, it's really exciting times.
Yeah, and I don't want I mean I don't want to put you on the spot with this question, but I'm curious what it's like to be a young pitcher with high expectations and aspirations for yourself in an organization like the Dodgers where I mean if we're being honest, there's probably 10, 15, 20 other organizations in the league where you'd be on the major league roster, the opening day roster. And the same could be said for 5 or 6 of the guys that we just mentioned. And yet, part of the reason there's such a backlog is because the Dodgers have probably developed you better than just about any other organization possibly could have. So, as a player, how do you kind of weigh those things and say, on one hand, I'm learning and growing here maybe more than I would anywhere else. And on the other hand, I've got to fight a lot more for opportunities here than I would in some other places.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think being in this organization, you understand that there's going to be a backlog at the big leagues. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
We're the best in developing. We're the best on field. We sign the best players. We're the best. So that the players you're going to be up against for spots are going to be the best. So you just sort of understand that and just take it on your own path. Some guys are a little bit more accelerated, some guys are slower.
Yeah.
But when the time is right, and your name's called, you have to go out there and produce, no matter if you think you're ready at this point in time or you're ready 6 months from now. You have to go out there and produce. And, you just really don't let that affect your daily routine and your daily motivation to go out and play. Because, once you start to feel like, man, I'm entitled to this spot, or man, I should be there, but I'm here, then that starts to bring down your overall, worth of yourself, and you start to overanalyze. And I think that stuff is where, guys overthink that, this game should be, handed to them.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, things are only going to get tougher. And, being a part of this organization is a blessing because, you're going to get the best development. And, when your name is called, you're going to get your opportunities to produce. And, it's all up to you at that point. So
Yeah.
I'm really blessed, and I'm sure all of us would say the same thing to be in this organization and grow with these guys. And, being around a winning culture is all you can ask for.
Yeah, I was talking to a former player a couple of weeks ago, and from the outside, I think sometimes I look and say, man, it's got to be tough to be in that AAA group and thinking like, we just keep signing all-stars at every single position. Like what, and yet one thing he said that really stuck with me that resonates with what you said is he said, look, one thing everybody in the league knows is that if you do your job and you deserve to be at the major league level, the Dodgers have proven over and over again they will put you there. Like if you know that if they want to win, and so if you're the best player, you don't have to worry about like they're going to mess with you or they're going to like hurt you in some way. So as long as you become the best version of yourself, they're going to take care of you. And that really stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah, he couldn't have said it any better. Once you're ready and once they think you're ready, you're going to get your shot. Absolutely. And I think this organization is really aware of, allowing young guys to play and go out there and, fail, succeed, whatever you have it. So they understand the importance of, getting young guys experience because, like you said, there's a next wave and there's always going to be the next wave in this organization and in this kind of profession. So just preparing for that and knowing that your time is coming kind of just puts me at ease with those kind of thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask you one more question, and then I got some rapid fire stuff. You've been gracious with your time, so I appreciate it. This one's shifting gears a little bit. Last year, I noticed you posted on Twitter that you had attended an event that Trevor Bauer was hosting to kind of talk about branding. I'm curious, what did you learn at that event, and what kind of goals do you have for yourself off the field? Of course, Trevor's now a teammate of yours, so you don't have to wait for these seminars and these events. But what kind of goals do you have for yourself in the world of branding and kind of off the field stuff?
Yeah, man, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of that. I think it was sometime this week. Uh, but yeah, he hosted a workshop last year for minor leaguers with momentum, and it was really great. It was kind of just eye opening into how you can leverage your your person and your brand to kind of build things for you off the field as along with your on the field success. And it was just along those lines. And Trevor was there. He had Brandish, who I believe he works with, is a media agency,
Okay.
and Open Doors is another sort of platform that helps athletes kind of produce content. But yeah, it was a really fun workshop, and it was just interesting, and kind of just took away that you probably have to post a lot more than you think. Uh, that's the thing that sits in me today, and I still don't post a lot, but I'm hoping to start posting a lot more and start connecting with fans a little bit better, just because that's the one thing you can do as an athlete, and kind of just relate back to fans and grow who you are as a person and have them relate to you even more. So I think Trevor does a great job with that, and putting fans into his experiences is something that hasn't really been done in the game of baseball before.
Yeah.
And so he's sort of transcending the game, and his legacy he's leaving now is going to be something that a lot of players are going to um, appreciate, when he hangs them up in 10 or so years.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you want to get into the podcasting game early, you are welcome on this show anytime, Josiah. Okay, so we'd love to
For
have you
sure.
back. Let me end with some rapid fire questions. Feel free to answer these as quickly as you want to. The first one: who's a younger guy in the organization that maybe you don't think sort of the people know enough about, that people aren't paying enough attention to?
Man, let me think. I'm trying to draw on all the experiences I had at the alternate site, but I feel like everyone knows the prospects that were there. Uh, but young guy who's, whew, that's a tough one.
Who's the
I'll
next
come back.
Josiah Gray, the like 20th or 30th best prospect in the organization that 2 years from now people might know a little bit more about?
Honestly, I don't know if he might be a year younger than me, but I think Ryan Pepio is going to be a guy that a lot of people are going to really start to appreciate. Plus changeup, um, great fastball, great slider. I don't have to talk him up because I'm sure people are going to start to see him more and more. But he's a guy who I can see uh, going from wherever he may start, and kind of just knocking on the door this year.
Yeah.
And kind of he was our best pitcher at the alternate site last year, so he's a guy that I'm sure a lot more people are going to start to learn about and fawn over
Yeah,
as
I've
time goes.
heard about the changeup. I've heard the changeup's nasty. So,
Yeah,
okay, along those lines, Josiah Gray is on the mound. You need to throw one strike. It's a big moment in the game. What pitch are you throwing? Is it fastball?
fastball.
Not even a doubt in your mind. It's going to be a
Uh,
fastball, huh?
Not a doubt.
Okay. Thinking back to like summer camp stuff last year, who is the Dodger hitter that maybe you would least like to see in the batter's box when you're on the mound?
Oof. So you're saying summer camp, not alternate site?
Yeah, yeah. Either. I mean, just yeah. Either one. Either one.
I'll give you one from summer camp and then one from the alternate site. Man, summer camp would probably be Seager. Uh, we all saw what he did
Yeah.
all of last year. He's going to attack you early. He's going to put a barrel on it, no matter what you throw. But also, he's going to take his walks. So he was probably the my least favorite guy to face, and still is.
Yeah,
He got
the first pitch swing has got to be really annoying for a pitcher. Like thinking like, all right, I'm just gonna throw a fastball, get ahead in the count, and
yeah.
Seager's like, I'm swinging at everything. That's got to be annoying.
Yeah. He's one of the best shortstops in the game, and he got me pretty good in the live BP last week, and it kind of reinforced what I already thought.
Okay.
Uh, and then at the alternate site, man, I would say a guy like Devin Mann or DJ Peters or even Luke Raley. I'll go Luke Raley here. He's going to hunt the fastball. He's going to hit it hard. He's going to swing early. And he's not going to be afraid to sell out for it. So he's a guy where if your off speed's not locked in yet, he might punish you depending on how you throw the ball to him. So I'd go Luke Raley at the alternate site, and then Seager at the summer camp.
Love it. Okay, we touched on this a little bit earlier. You have 2 career at bats in the minor leagues. I don't mean to put you on the spot here. You former position player turned pitcher. Are you the best hitting pitcher in the Dodger organization?
No. Tony Gonsolin, I think, takes that away.
Okay, Gonsolin can hit.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and last question for you. This is a fun one, and you might have already tipped your hand on the answer here, but who has the best hair in Dodger camp right now?
I'm biased because he's one of my buddies. He's my boy, but Andre Jackson has got it.
Well, when you said he was your best friend, I knew that was going to be an easy answer for you.
Yeah, I'm living with him currently, and he's definitely got the best. I mean, D May is his direct competition, but Dre's got it.
Well, we did a show on our segment. We were doing stock up and stock down, and normally we talk about games, but you had played like 1 or 2 spring training games, so I decided to go in the hair direction. You could let Andre Jackson know. I'm a big fan of the hair. He got stock up. Justin Turner's beard got stock down because he shaved it, and Tony Gonsolin, Gonsolin's hair it's getting really, really long, and it's a different look than May and Jackson. I won't make you comment on any of that, but you could let Andre Jackson know I'm a fan of his hair as well. So. Hey,
sure.
Josiah, we appreciate your time. This went longer than we expected. So thanks so much. Best of luck, man. You're a great dude, and it's great rooting for you, and we're excited to see you pitch in the spring and into the regular season and stuff. So best of luck the rest of the spring, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you soon.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
See you, Josiah.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.